Welcome to this episode of The Wisdom of Paramahansa Yogananda, brought to you by Self-Realization Fellowship, where each week you can receive inspiration and guidance from Paramahansa Yogananda's Kriya Yoga teachings. The subject of this episode is Our Loved Ones Never Die by Sister Ranjana.
Warm welcome to each one of you. It's always a joy to come and share the Self-Realization Fellowship teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. The ancient science of yoga that was known to the sages and great yogis of ancient India, that is what Paramahansaji brought to the West for all of us, so that we can know what the purpose of life is. Why are we here? What are we meant to do? Why do we go when we leave this world? You know, when we think of our life, generally we limit it to our physical form, our physical experience in this world. And yet suppose there is a young man who, since he was a little baby, spent his entire upbringing living in a large, beautiful mansion. It was just filled with all kinds of rooms with things to occupy him. There were no windows in this mansion, and he'd never been outside of the mansion. So his whole world was just about what he experienced in that mansion. And then someone who has traveled the world comes and enters the mansion and starts talking with this young man. And he realizes that the young man has never been outside. And he feels for him, he feels sorry for him, and he wants to help him. And so he starts to describe what the world is like. And he starts to share the experiences of all these places that he's been. He talks about the mountains and lakes and the birds flying in the air and the other animals and the ocean and the moon and the stars and snow. I mean, he just goes on. And this young man, he just feels the whole thing is so incredulous. He just can't believe it. He can't even imagine it because there isn't anything within the context of his own experience that even remotely relates to it. Well, the great yogis, those who know there is so much more than the physical, the form, the senses, the intellect, human consciousness. They know because they have lifted their consciousness by using scientific meditation techniques to go into that higher state of consciousness where they experience communion with God, oneness with God. Now it's rare when one of these great ones comes into the world. But when they do, one such as Paramahansa Yogananda, they bring with them that direct experience of God, their knowledge of how to have that experience of God, how to become one with God. And they want to show us. Just like that young man in the mansion, when that traveler says, "Come, let me show you." Now, will the young man be open to it? Will he be able to say, "I want to see"? And when we're given the opportunity to expand our awareness, what Paramahansaji has brought to us and is saying, let me show you how you can reclaim your divine status as a child of God. Are we receptive? Do we embrace it? Do we follow as best we can, realizing He is always helping, He is always guiding, leading, and blessing us? Now I use the term Paramahansaji. For those of you who may be new, Ji is a respectful suffix in India. And so we sometimes refer to Paramahansa Yogananda as Guruji or Paramahansaji. And we also call him master because he was a complete master over his body and mind, a complete mastery over himself. So our topic is on life and death. Now, we think of what the purpose of life is. Most people, they don't have that deeper understanding that the great ones have of why we are here, what we're meant to accomplish, why we even come, why we go. And that is the incredible treasure of what we have been given in the teachings, is that God and Guru explain to us what it is that allows us to really live rich, full, meaningful lives with God and Guru in our life. So when we think of life and death, we think of, in order for something to die, it means that something had to live that was only temporary. Otherwise it wouldn't die. And the first thing is, what is it that lives and then dies? In his teachings, Paramahansaji explains that spirit is the unmanifested absolute. Okay, when we think of that, we're kind of like the young man in the mansion who doesn't have that anything to relate to on this physical plane of the unmanifested absolute beyond creation. And yet when Spirit decided to create, the unmanifested became manifested God as cosmic creative vibration. That's the Om vibration. So everything in creation is within that Om vibration. And in Paramahansaji's teachings, he's given us the Om technique of meditation, that we can learn how to hear and then gradually merge with that Om vibration. Have oneness with that Om vibration throughout creation. Then that is when we realize, as the great ones have, that we are not limited to these little physical forms. He said, the deeper one communes with that Om vibration, the more one understands the profound truth of how God is all in all, the one all-pervading reality. The one all-pervading reality. That does not die. And we are part of that. It means that what we really are, pure consciousness, doesn't die. On the physical plane, to come to the physical plane, we take on a physical form. What dies is that outer physical form, that shell, that is temporarily housing that immortal soul. The soul is infinite. The soul feels very confined in these limited bodies. It knows it's infinite. And it's being held captive by our ego, by our human consciousness. And death from these forms is very freeing to the soul. It goes into a much more expanded state of existence. Paramahansaji said, "Death is a pension that you earn only after completing the hard work of life. It is a blessing. You do not realize how terribly limiting the body is until you die." Now we think of our loved ones. What is it that we love? The soul that is reflecting its own unique beauty. That is what we love. Yes, it's manifesting through that form. The way it smiles, the way it laughs, the way it reaches out and helps others and does service and is understanding, kind. But it's the soul. It's not the form, just the form. What we have a bond with and what does not die is the soul. That bond of love is there just the same. And that bond remains with us after physical death. There's a nun who was very close to her father. And after she grew up, moved away from home, lived her own life, had moved to a different state. She didn't see her father very much, but they were still very close. And on the occasion when they did see each other, it was as though no time had passed. They immediately just picked up where they left off, because that bond between them wasn't just based on them doing outer activities together. It was much deeper than that. And she said, after he passed, she felt that bond just the same. There was the same connection. She said she couldn't grieve for his passing, that she felt that he was freed from that limited body. And she could only feel joy for him, happy for him, that he was now in this more expanded state of light and freedom from that body that was becoming more and more troublesome. And she said all the years since then, this happened a few decades ago, all the years since then, whenever she prays for him, whenever she visualizes him in light and love and with God, she feels love coming to her. God is love, and we're made of that love. All creation is made of that love. And love between souls then doesn't die, because love cannot die. In a letter that Paramahansaji wrote to someone who is grieving over the loss of a dear friend, so the great ones, even though they know this is just temporary, the roles that we're playing, they have that compassion and understanding. Just like the traveler that was visiting with the young man, they know that we are in the moment identifying with that which is just the temporary. And so Paramahansaji said, "Your sorrowing letter has deeply touched my heart, and I pray that God may give you the understanding to realize that death is not the end of life. The soul residing in the body cage does not expire with the death of the body. Your little friend came on earth at the will of God, and she departed again at his will. You must believe this, for remember the words of Christ, 'Are not 2 sparrows sold for a farthing? And one of them shall not fall on the ground without the sight of my Father.' He who is conscious of even the fall of a tiny sparrow is far more aware of the well-being of his children in whom his image is most manifest. We come to this world to learn, to work out desires and attachments, to grow spiritually, and when it's God's will, we shed the body cage and have that greater freedom in spirit. Now, it's normal to grieve for loved ones. Even Paramahansaji, in his autobiography of a yogi, shares how he grieved as a child at the death of his mother. But then what did he do? He went deeper. He sought deeper. He went within until he found his divine mother and realized that his mother had simply been part of the divine mother. And so when we look at those that have gone before us, it's our loss. There's no question about it. But it's their gain when we think about what they are going into. That light, that joy, that greater awareness of God. So we can be happy for them. And to keep those positive memories, the experiences we had with them. Keep them in our consciousness. You know, as I said, the love is there. The bond is there. That's never broken. Continuing in that letter, Paramahansaji went on. In your present understanding, you feel that this dear friend is lost to you, that you will never more know her friendship. I assure you that this is wrong. Love, friendship, the soul, these do not disappear into nothingness when life leaves the body. We want to remember that. Love, friendship, the soul, these do not disappear into nothingness when life leaves the body. They are eternal, and love attracts unto itself love again. If your love for your friend is pure, unconditional, and lasting, you will be attracted to her again, sometime, some other place. Do not doubt this, for this is the law of life. Now, sometimes people share their experiences about both their life and also death of loved ones and those they're close to. There was this one woman that fairly early on in her life, she had decided she wanted to be a doctor. And she went to Harvard. After she got her degree, she went into medical school. And she became a surgeon. And she had always felt she wanted to help people. And she loved being in that position where she felt she could do so much good for others. And once in a while, of course, it didn't turn out that way. And she was always hoping that she could do better. And there was this almost this vague feeling that she wasn't quite where she wanted to be. And she took it as being, I need to learn more so I can help my patients more. Now, I need to be a better surgeon. And then she found the SRF teachings. And she said it just stopped her in her tracks. She felt this was what was the missing piece for her. And she realized that in taking the teachings and applying them in her life as a surgeon, she would pray for her patients. She would ask for guidance from Paramahansaji. She would have herself be open to that wisdom, to the strength, to the vibration of his presence to guide her. She said her life became so much fuller, richer, meaningful to her. It wasn't just about what the role was that she was playing. Then on the other side of it, there was a woman whose father was diabetic, and in the last few weeks of his life, he was in a diabetic coma. And she was with him for those last few weeks, the whole time. She was staying in the room with him. And she was sleeping early one morning, and she suddenly woke up and felt, it's time. He's gonna pass. And she went over to his bed, and she just started to talk to him. You know, Paramahansa Ji says the last sense of our five senses, the last sense to go is the sense of hearing. And she just started to tell him over and over again, I love you. You can go. It's okay. You can go. We'll be together again. Go into the light of God. Go into His love. He's waiting for you. She said she just kept saying that very soothingly. And a few minutes later, he just peacefully passed. And she said all she felt was that this peace, just this wonderful peace in her heart. And she said she didn't feel he died. She felt he became more alive in God. Paramahansa Ji said, when you know all matter, including your physical body, to be made of immortal life energy, and when you know that energy is, in essence, vibrations of causal cosmic consciousness emanating from spirit and soul, you are then able to dwell in this world as intended by our Creator. You live your life in the consciousness of a joyous, divine actor, temporarily playing a role in the grand cosmic movie, never daunted or afraid, ever aware of your true nature, made in the image of God. Now, where we get tripped up is that we forget that we are joyous divine actors playing a temporary role. We take it very seriously in thinking this is real. And yet, imagine yourself that you love someone very much, and this person's career is they're an actor, and they perform on stage. And you've seen them perform all kinds of different roles. Business executive, gardener, garbage collector, cowboy, sometimes dying very young, other times becoming an old person before they die. So you see all the roles, and you're not identifying that person as that role. You know they're just roles. You love the person behind the role. And it's the same with our loved ones. It's the same for us. We love the soul behind the current temporary role that soul is playing. But because we see the outer, continually that is what we are interacting with, we see the form, we see the personality that soul has taken on. We mistake the outer for the inner. We think it is the body that is the source of the kindness, the love, the caring, the large-heartedness, all the beautiful qualities that are actually emanating from that soul, which is an individualized part of spirit. Paramahansa Ji said, India's wisdom teaches that God is everything and beyond everything. God is everything and beyond everything. Doesn't die. That matter and God are essentially the same. Existence, consciousness, bliss, just as the waves in the ocean are essentially the same. Now, when each wave goes back into the ocean, that water doesn't just disappear. It's there. It just becomes part of the ocean again. So when we die, when we leave these forms, we become part of the ocean of spirit. There was a woman who shared that her mother was given 6 months to live, and this woman went to her care facility to see her, and they had a couple of days together of just enjoying one another and talking and, reliving some of the past quirks when the girl was a little girl and the adventures and all. And then her mother unexpectedly went into a coma. Now the doctors didn't expect this, and they said, well, she could go at any time. And this woman, one day she was out taking care of some errands, and she kept having this feeling, I need to get back. I need to get back to the care facility where, her mother was. And so she tried to get through everything quickly, and when she got back, she walked in the room and she just felt like there was this presence. And she felt that her mother was getting ready to pass. And so she sat down next to her and she took her hand and she said to her over and over again, I love you. I love you. And you can go. I will be fine. You will always be in my heart. I won't miss you because you are with me in my heart. And she said, after a little while, her mother passed while she was there. And she said she just felt such joy, which really surprised her. And she said that joy remained with her for the rest of the day and through the evening. And after that experience, she said it was impossible for her to think of death as death. She said, oh, it's not death, it's a transition. It's a transition to a much better state of being. Paramahansaji said, if we are made in God's image, how can we die? Nothing really does die. It only changes form. So even the death of the body is a delusion. But immortality refers to the soul rather than the body. For it is the soul, not the body, that is made in the image of God, immortal, incorruptible. That is what we are. And everything that Paramahansaji has brought us in the teachings is to help us come to that realization that we are the soul made in the image of God. We can hear it. We can think intellectually about it. But we have to know it. We have to experience it. And little by little, by practicing what Paramahansaji has brought us, we shift our consciousness from identification with the little limited form, with the limited physical creation, into a greater vastness of existence, a greater consciousness that's attuned to God's consciousness. Paramahansaji said, once you see this life as God's dream or cosmic motion picture, you will say, there is no birth or death or tragedy. I am not afraid of these delusive changes made of light and shadows, for I am thine immortal child. I have seen life and its dramas played well. It is an interesting play, but no matter what my role in it, I am thy child, eternally one with thee, O Lord. no matter what my role in it, I am thy child, eternally one with thee, O Lord. That is the purpose of life, to reclaim, as Christ taught, our lost divine heritage as children of God. Know ye not that ye are the temple of God, and that the Spirit of God dwelleth in you? Again, we can understand it theoretically, but it is in meditation where we have that direct experience for ourselves, where there's the knowing, not just the intellect, but the knowing with our being, truth, communion with God gives us direct truth. Paramahansaji said, all true scripture of the world's religions proclaim that each human being is made in the image of God as a soul, individualized spirit. By the practice of techniques of the Kriya Yoga science, you learn how to realize this great truth fully. We don't realize sometimes the priceless treasure we have been given. By the practice of techniques of the Kriya Yoga science, you learn how to realize this great truth fully and regain awareness of your native God identity. That is what Paramahansaji came to show us. Where he's saying, come, let me show you how to regain your divine consciousness, your oneness with God. Meditation brings peace, strength, understanding. It expands our heart, our compassion, the desire to help and serve others, and so much more. But above all, it awakens us to the realization that we are born of God's Spirit in all its purity and glory and joy. That we have our own personal relationship with God, each one of us, our own personal relationship with God that belongs to us and God, no one else. We have a right to claim Him as our own. Sri Dayamata, one of Paramahansaji's closest disciples and late president of SRF, and Sangamata of Yagoda Satsanga Society of India, said, by regular practice of yoga meditation with steady attention, the time will come when you suddenly say to yourself, oh, I am not the body. Oh, I am not this body, though I use it to communicate with this world. I am not this mind with its emotions. I am that wonderful state of consciousness within. I am made in the divine image of God's bliss and love. I am that wonderful state of consciousness within. I am made in the divine image of God's bliss and love. When we sincerely and deeply pray with an open heart, we allow God's healing energy to flow through us. We become channels that He can use to help souls around the world.
This has been a production of Self-Realization Fellowship, a non-profit organization founded by Paramahansa Yogananda in 1920. For more information about Self-Realization Fellowship and Paramahansa Yogananda, please visit yogananda.org.